I'm here with Second Ward Councilman Joseph Petrosky, who is running for re-election in his ward and district. And just want to thank you for coming, and we'll just get right to it.
Thank you.
So why do you want to run again?
I enjoy being councilman. Some people might think I'm crazy, but I do enjoy it. I like helping people out. I've always been like that. I've been a resident of Roselle Park for 56 years. I went through the school system here, graduating from Roselle Park High School in 1976. Went to Lincoln Technical Institute, and I've been working for the county for 31 years. I decided to stay in town after I got married, and I raised my daughter, and she was a 2007 graduate of Roselle Park High School.
Okay.
She still lives in town. Okay. I've been involved with the Roselle Park Youth Baseball for 42 years.
That's what I guess a lot of people know you for.
Yes.
That you're always very vocal about that.
Right. Yes. Like I said, like a lot of people might not know, I've taken 3 teams, and 1 year I was crazy enough to take 4 teams.
Wow.
Which I found out it wasn't fair to the kids, because I just couldn't have the practices for them. But we were shorthanded with the league, and I decided to take it. I also coached soccer and basketball for 20-some years.
Wow.
I also ran basketball for over 10 years.
Okay.
But as far as being a councilman, I do like it. I know some people call me a lot, which I don't mind. I tell them, call me anytime you want. I don't mind. Doesn't bother me. If you have a problem, call me, and I'll try to do what I can. And actually, I do get a lot of calls from 1st Ward, 3rd Ward, 4th, and 5th.
Is it because they don't know, or just they know you? It's like,
They know I'm not their councilman, but they hear good things about me, they say, and they hear from their friends that I take care of things.
Right.
And, so they call me, and like I said, I had a lady had a problem on the West Clay.
Okay.
With parking, with the train station, and all that.
Right.
And I thank the police, that Captain McCaffrey, who took care of it. And we found out that there was supposed to be signs up, no parking all day.
Okay.
And there wasn't. So again, very happy camper. And that's what I like to see when people.
So do you like that when someone calls you up and they're like, I got this problem, and you put it into motion, and then it's like it got done?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you feel good.
Right.
I know I do, especially when they're happy.
Right.
And that's, like I said, you try to make all your constituents. You're not going to make them all happy,
right,
but you try. And when they have problems, I try to settle them, and try to help out. And one thing, a lot of them are telling me, one thing about you, Joe, you get back to us.
Okay.
We, before, a lot of times we didn't hear from our councilman, but you at least return our calls.
Right.
And which I do.
Okay. And like you make that like a point, like
yes,
no matter what.
Very stickler.
Like even if you know they're gonna probably yell at you, you're like, I'll call them back.
I still call them. I still call them, and like I said, sometimes they're yelling and screaming, but usually by the time I get done with them, when I say what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna try, they're happy about it.
Oh, that's pretty good. Okay. So we talked about like what you've done, and you've lived in town, and right. You still live in town, and you work for the county.
Yes, for 31 years.
Okay. And just for a brief history, you were appointed?
I was appointed in 2015 when Charlene Story won in 2014 the election for councilman at large. So it vacated the 2nd Ward seat. And at the time, Mayor Hokuson asked me to run, and I talked to my daughter, and I talked to my girlfriend. And they both said, if that's what you want, do it. And actually, I was asked years ago to run, and at that time my mother was sick.
Okay.
And I first went to her and asked her, and she told me, yes, I think you'll be a good councilman. And then when I told her I was putting my hat in the ring, she started crying. And basically what it was who's going to take care of me?
Okay.
So I had to tell the Democrat Party I wasn't interested.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's good, right? Because you put her first, right?
Yeah, well, I had to, because my brother would take care of her during the day with the help of my nephew. My nephew was working nights at the time, so he had to leave by 1.
Okay.
My brother, the type of job he had was he able to fluctuate his time, but then he had things to do later on in that. And once I got home from work, then I was,
Right.
responsible for it.
Do you think in it looks like you've been like that all the way, all the time, very helpful. Do you think, putting that priority, like that's my mother, I gotta
Right.
take care of her,
Right.
and now that it's your constituents, I have to take care of them.
Yes.
Is like that kind of the same mentality?
Yes,
you think?
I feel the same way.
Right.
Like I said, even going to different wards, even though they're not my,
Right.
in my ward,
Right.
I still, if they have a problem they want, I do take care of it. And one thing about me, I don't go party line. I don't stick. I did a big favor for a guy on Lincoln Avenue, who had trouble with his sewer.
Okay.
Okay, and the county was going to pave the street.
Right.
So I was trying to get a hold of the county to take care of this matter before, so they wouldn't have to dig it up.
Dig it up again. Right.
And they were busy at the time, shorthanded, all that stuff. They weren't going to be able to get to it. I was able to get the superintendent of Roseville Park to do the job.
Okay.
The guy is a registered Republican, and I didn't care.
Okay.
I don't look at party line. If a constituent needs a problem, Republican, Democrat, Independent, I'm going to take care of it.
Like someone said, the street isn't Republican or Democrat; it's everybody's street. So.
It's everyone's street, and he was happy. And
Okay.
to this day, because with the pipe being broken, it was freezing the sidewalk.
Oh wow!
And also the curb, and he was having a lot of issues. People walking and bumping,
Slipping, yeah.
So he was very happy and very thing. And like I said, I didn't look at him as a Republican. I looked at him as a constituent and took care of the job.
All right. And so was it? So you were appointed, and then you ran,
Then,
then-
I was appointed in 2015. I ran that year,
and then you won.
and then November 2015 I won, and I won for a 3-year term,
Right.
which is expiring at the end of this year.
Okay. So you said you've kept your residents engaged by calling
Yeah.
them back and inform. So suppose there's something that you think, hey, I think this is important to my constituents. Like, how do you reach out to the people to let
I
them
stop
know?
at their house.
Okay.
Are
Are you more of like a face-to-face person?
Yes, I'd rather do it
Okay.
face to face than the phone.
Okay.
And I will stop at people's houses and go over their house and explain what's going on, if it's something everything. And I think they like that, the personal thing. Like they always say, you don't have to come to my house, but I do enjoy it.
Right.
I get to meet them one-on-one. Explain it. It's better to explain than
Right.
one-on-one than they have to do it over the phone and everything.
Okay. And like we were talking about this before I said it, I really appreciate the fact that when you're unaware of, when you don't know something fully,
Right.
even on council, you will literally just go, look, can you explain it to me again?
Right.
And I think that's a big positive, because if you don't understand it,
Right.
and now you're going to go tell somebody, you can just repeat what's said, or you can say, look, like in your words, right? Because if people are more familiar with more informal, right,
Yes.
as opposed to this, and this. If you say, look, this is what I got out of it,
Right.
and I think that's really good. I've seen you do that numerous times, and I think
Right.
that's excellent.
Right.
Because a lot of, and I'm not anybody else, but I'm just saying a lot of people could have just gone with the flow.
Right. Well, I remember there was a councilman that didn't understand some things, and he would vote, and then someone would say to him, "Why did you vote that way?" He goes, "Well, I didn't know what it was." So that's one thing. If I'm going to vote yes or vote no, I want to know what I'm voting
Okay.
for.
All right.
This way, I'm clear, and then this way, like you said, when I talk to the resident, I can let them know.
Right. And okay, excellent. So you were appointed, was that kind of scary when you were appointed? Like, did you want to do it, or were you like, I'm ready?
I was ready.
Okay.
I was president of the union for over 20 years.
All right.
Park
Okay.
maintenance union, and so I dealt with a lot of the
Okay.
same stuff. Being a councilman is a little more involved than being the president of the union, and I was ready for it, and I just felt that it was at first a little hard getting used to things, but I familiarized myself and I was able to move on.
And do you think being the head of the union, that prepared you for that kind of
Yes,
talking with
definitely.
the other side of the table,
Right.
negotiating, being kind of diplomatic, right?
Well, I know years ago I was kind of shy. People deny that, but I was shy, and I found it hard to talk to people
Right.
like that. But I think being president of the union opened me up, and I was able to get talk. Being president of Little League,
Right.
when I had to make the open day speeches and different things like that. But I think that helped me, and like I said, when I became council,
It's kinda
now
just-
it's, I'm very comfortable and everything like
Okay.
that.
So you were appointed. So you were basically asked, and then you decided for yourself to say, you know what, I do
Right.
want to continue doing this.
Right.
Because you could have said,
One
guys,
year,
you're good.
Right.
Go ahead. So you decided. You said, I want to do something.
Yeah.
When you when you were running,
Right.
what goals did you set for yourself to say within 3 years I'd like to, or did you just say, you know what, I'm ready here for the people?
Well, the goals I wanted to get a good relationship with my constituents, and I feel I have it. Like I said, I have a list of people that have called me. I've tried to take care of all their problems. I'm not going to take care of every one of their problems, but I try to take care of them all. That was my main goal,
Okay.
to get back to people. Because from hearing years before I became a councilman, a lot of people would tell me that their council never got back to them, and not get involved. Like I said, being every committee I've been on, I believe I missed 2 meetings
Okay.
in 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's because I had Little League
Okay.
games that day. And again, I haven't missed a council meeting since I've been here.
That's a pretty good record.
Yeah, I tried.
That's a
make
pretty
sure-
good record.
Yeah. No, it was once or twice I didn't feel good. but
Still a pretty good record.
right. But like as far as recreation and
Right.
different land use or the fire department and everything, I made sure I got to the meetings.
Do you take that responsibility seriously when someone
Yes.
says, I want to point you to this, even if you
Yes.
don't know it? You're
Yes.
like, you know what? They told me, I think this is something, and you go in.
Yes,
Okay.
I take it very seriously. I know there was some issues when I took over as fire commissioner.
Uh-huh.
But it was funny because there'd be problems with there, and then I go to the meeting, they tell me something different. So then I would go back to the source to find out, like I know the electrical
Okay.
problem, and I would talk to the electrical inspector. He said, "No, everything's good." Then I go back to the fire department, and then after a while, I realized what was happening, and I was able to deal with it.
So do you think that that's another reason? So you yourself know you're hearing it from the direct person, because you could not go to the meetings and go, call them up, but
Right.
you said you like to be face to face.
Yes.
And do you think that helps you yourself to know? You told me to my face
Right.
this,
Yes.
and you told me to my face that. And
Right.
do you think that's another reason you do it, to kind of not rely on other people? But
No, I don't rely on
Okay.
anyone. I get everything from myself.
Okay.
If I hear something, I follow up. I try to get the right answer, and I want to know from the horse's mouth,
Right.
basically. I don't listen to other people, when they tell us their stories or something like that. I try to get it from the man that's speaking and find out the truth of the
Okay.
matter.
So how do you think you've done in getting communication back to the residents?
I think I've done very well. I know one thing I wanted to do, and I just never, is to have. I wanted to do more flyers,
Okay.
which I never really did. But I do speak to residents quite often. I usually get calls, answer questions, and everything like that. Maybe with my next term, if I'm elected, maybe that's something I might start.
That's what you're going to start maybe getting to the
Get
flyers.
flyers out to let the people know, like that. I think that was maybe, the only thing I would say to improve on.
Okay. All right. So there's your ward, right? And,
Right.
and your ward is rather unique. It has the most houses. I don't think
Right.
it has any apartments.
Right.
I think it has 1 or 2 businesses, right? The Chilean Bakery, I think.
Right.
So you're dealing with homeowners, right?
Homeowners.
Who are going to be like, I'm paying these,
Right.
I'm sure you get those.
Sure.
I'm paying these site
Definitely.
taxes, and it's the most tree lined. It's the most picturesque kind of part of town. So that's one aspect, but also the decisions you make.
Right.
There's decisions that are for the borough,
Right.
like you had said, parking in other wards, and
Right.
you vote on things that. So what do you see for yourself as something you'd want to do? You said your ward, but perhaps something that borough wide, or because like I said, you make decisions and take votes on things, parking, development, whatever, right? Is there anything you see coming up that you want to focus on or look forward to? Or
Well, I think one thing I'd like to see is a little more communication with the Board of Ed.
okay,
I think that for whatever reason, we seem like to be a little drifted. I know at the last council meeting, it was brought up that they don't want to meet with us about the pilot. And I think I'd like to see a little more better communication with the board, so we can, go over like the pilot and what's gonna happen and different things. And another issue is about the lights at the high school.
okay,
I know I was on the committee years ago, and then unfortunately I got taken off it, and we were that close of getting lights.
Really?
Through the
you mean before the incident happened with the?
no, after the
okay,
incident happened.
all right, got it. Okay,
Then I got involved
All right.
with it. We met with the county representative. Then Senator Joe Cryan reached us with some people from Trenton,
okay,
and we were going to try to get grant money. They were talking about doing it in 3 phases. Basically, do Webster Avenue first, because baseball season was coming up.
okay,
Next was going to be the football field
right.
before the football season started, and the last would be Colfax Avenue.
Where the soccer fields and the other
Yeah,
field.
and with the soccer and baseball.
Baseball.
And because actually we had to move the senior boys to Tucker Avenue field.
Oh, in Union?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because we didn't have lights, and they rather start the games at 7:00. So I'd like to try to work something out with that. Being a county employee, I do know some people. I wanted to reach out to Senator Cryan again to get the ball rolling. I know some of the freeholders had said they were interested in helping us.
Okay.
So I would like to try to see if we can get that ball rolling again.
So you said you were this close, like so. So
Well,
what?
it was supposedly just talking to one guy to let him okay it, and then it would get presented, and then we could, and
Oh, okay.
it never happened.
Is that frustrating for you
Yes.
when you yourself, and it's personal for you because athletics, and it's important.
Right.
It's, to be a well-rounded student, to be a well-rounded person, athletics is as important as well as education, and I know that's important for you. So this was like something personal that
Yeah.
you were like,
Well, first of all, well, even though we did have portable lights, it's
They're very
really not
loud.
the same, right? But I enjoy going to Friday night football games. I've been doing it for years and years. Jake Major, I
Right.
see it at every game. I actually sit by him and everything like that. And I do enjoy going on a Friday night to a football game.
Right.
So, then we got the portable lights, but like you said, the noise and different things, it's not the same. So that would be one of the things I'd like to see, try to reach out and try to get that where we can maybe reach out and get some more grant money and everything like that. And this way it wouldn't cost the taxpayers, if anything, little.
and are you do? So the two things. So one, you're disappointed, right? Because it
Yes,
didn't
very
work.
disappointed.
But you still, like you said, you're still trying. Like you don't say, "Oh, let's just give up."
No, I won't give up.
Right.
One thing about me, I'm a fighter.
Okay. And the second thing you said is that you're looking at the taxpayer, right? That
Right.
it doesn't.
Well, I don't want to see, taxpayers, the taxes are high.
Right.
I'm hearing that in the campaign, everything. Senior citizens are, they're
Yeah.
telling me they're fixed income. And I know there's people that, out there and they think council don't have to pay taxes. And that's why I wish that was that. But I said, sir, when the guy told me that, I said, sir, if that was the case, you would have 100 people running for the council seat.
Right. So people forget that sometimes that
Right.
you are a homeowner, you are a
Right,
taxpayer,
right.
you have the same issues that everybody has, right? You get that bill every year and you have to pay it out and you have to worry about all these things and your street, right?
Right.
So and
Well, like I said, even a couple of years ago, we got that 28 inches of snow, 30 inches of snow. And one lady called up complaining, and I said to her, look, and she goes, well, I bet your street is spotless. I said, well, why don't you come down and look at it? And then she mentioned about the mayor's street also. And I
Right.
said, well, go down to his street. And I'm telling you, we have as much snow as you.
right, it's
Everyone got it. I mean, it was good that we were able to hire that vendor to
Right.
come down and take the snow away. This way it freed the
Yeah.
thing. Because it's just too much snow to do anything with
right.
it.
Yeah, was that the year that they put all the snow on Chestnut Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just they kind of like put it and then melted it. Yeah, so especially in a town like this, I mean,
Right.
you know the people, right? You know
Right.
your neighbors, you know the
Right.
people in the ward, and that's kind of important because it's like we're all in the same boat, right?
Right.
It's not like I live in the really 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 nice part of town and I get my things first. It's like I live in the same block that you do.
Right. I'm paying the taxes.
And like we
just
talked
you.
before,
Right.
you live by the school. You still get you still get cars with block. It's not like, oh, that's kind of with Petrosky. It's like, I don't care. I'm gonna park there anyway.
Right. I mean, I don't mind if I'm not around.
Right.
But I know my, there's a car in the driveway and people
Right,
just
but
don't care.
right, but it's like it's not. It's cousin Petrosky. It's like whatever. I'm gonna.
Right. I know there's people have asked me if they can park there, and I said, as long as you don't see a car in the driveway,
We're good.
You're good. You know.
All right. So we talked about that. You said taxes.
Yeah.
People in your ward. Anything else that you've heard from them?
You know, it's funny. One of the main topics is the Supreme Court thing.
Really? So when you were walking, they were just like this whole the Supreme
Quite
Court.
a few people approached me about that.
Wow.
What was my feeling about it?
Right.
Did I think it was fair and everything like that? And what I try to explain to them, that's Washington D.C. politics, not Rosa Park politics. I said, if you want to talk about taxes or different things,
Wow.
we'll talk. But quite a few, and I'm not saying
That's
it was quite a few hit me with
Like
that.
what can you do?
I can't do anything. Like I said, I'm
Can you
not,
like call up and go, hey, I'm Councilman Petrosky, stop this or do this?
right. No one's going to listen to me, and like I try to tell them, but but a lot of people did.
Wow.
And I'm not saying a few,
Right, yeah.
quite a few.
Now, do you get a lot of phone calls like that of people asking you to do things that you can't do anything about,
Yes.
like, my neighbor, or, can you lower the rent?
Right. Yeah. Well, I had a guy call me, and he the other day asking me to do something about his medical insurance.
Wow.
That he, I guess whatever he was covered, his company cut him,
Yeah.
and now he needs one for his condition he has, and he's not covered under his plan anymore.
Wow.
So he went, and I said, "Sir, I can't do anything with that."
But I guess it's a good thing that they trust you.
Yeah,
right?
do.
Because
Well,
they're like, well,
this guy trusts me more because I saved him a lot of money.
okay.
His sister-in-law embezzled a lot of money from them, him and his wife, and the police did a great job. I went, actually thank Captain McCaffrey and Chief Morrison
Right.
because they went over to the guy and helped, and he got his money back.
Oh, good.
So right now I'm
Wow.
the king.
You're the
in
That's
his
good,
life.
right?
Yeah, I feel good. Like
Yeah,
that.
right.
But he does call me and he asks me, and I try to do the best I can. So.
Okay. So you said taxes, and so what do people want out of?
Well, the development
Okay.
is big. A lot of people called me, and hopefully I was behind Sullivan property,
All right.
the development. I know, and again, Republicans and Democrats both called me, and they asked me if hopefully I was supporting it,
Right.
which I did. I supported it, and I said that their main thing is it's been vacant for how long,
Right.
and we need to do something.
Okay.
Okay.
So the taxes and development, those are the
Right.
Okay.
And a few other minor things, but they mentioned about trees again, more tree, and what I try to explain to them, we have one tree guy,
Right.
and and one truck. So I said, yeah, we could go out and buy another truck and hire another guy, but then your taxes are going to go
So
up.
the thing you were complaining about me before
Right.
is going to go up even more.
Exactly, and that's what I tried to. And we're talking to the assistant superintendent.
Right.
He said when I call him about a tree that needs to be, and I'm 100% with them. If the tree is alive, it's not going to come
Okay.
down. I have a lady on Galpin Hill Road that she's a tree lover. And
Okay.
if you cut a tree down, she calls me, and when I was on the DPW
Right.
liaison, and I told her if the tree's dead, like that, they're not going to cut down a healthy tree,
Right.
like that. I do have a lady right now that she wants her tree down, and it's a healthy tree.
It's a healthy tree. So
And they're not going to cut it down, I said. And like I said, people just got to be patient. I know people are, want it done.
right.
Quick story, I know my father, we had trouble with squirrels for years growing up when I was a kid.
Right.
And the tree, we wanted the tree trimmed. And my father's friend became the tree commissioner back then, So my father called him up to see if he could get it done quicker. And he told my father, I didn't take this job to do political favors.
Wow.
And what happened? You know what? It was 8 years later they came back to trim the tree. Fortunate for me, I had a friend's father worked for public service, and he was he said, I'll ride by, seen the problem. He said, oh, you need a new line. Came in and changed, which I did actually, because the line was actually cut.
Okay.
He said, so he changed the line, and as long as he's there, he trimmed the branches for me. But yeah, it was 8 years before they actually come back.
Wow. So then, but for you, what do you see as a concern that the second ward residents should know about, ward wise and just borough wide?
Well, my big thing is to let them know that just be patient. Like, you want a tree down, I understand, and there's so many workers for the DPW, and you know, everyone wants this done, that done, and they always want it that day. And I just told them they have to be patient, and when you know, your name comes up, they'll take care of your tree. Again, we have one guy only. Like I said, I know when I was on the committee to hire a couple of years ago, the one guy, when we were hiring 3 laborers, the one guy applied for the job was a tree guy, experience. I believe he had over 10 years experience in trees. And I thought that'd be great to hire him this way, because our tree guy is probably going to retire within the next few years, and he could take over. But also, now you have 2 experienced tree guys. Unfortunately, when it came time, he already got another offer.
He got another offer,
and he took the job. So we lost him, like that.
So do you try to get stuff like that? Like, it's like, hey, this guy, he's in for a laborer, but he also does this. So,
well, I thought that would be a good spot.
And it would save money, right? And they would prepare for when.
And then you have a tree. Now you have experience for around, because, like I said, when our guy, I think he told me he's going to leave in a couple of years. Now you got to go find another tree guy, like that. Like I said, a couple of years ago when we hired the 3 laborers, Greg Petrosky, who, God rest his soul, he passed away this past summer. He was a union carpenter, and I thought that was a big asset for the town. It saved the town a lot of money. I mean, I asked him to do the gazebo. He redid, changed all the wood that was rotten.
Right.
I know at the library he did them folding doors, which saved quite a bit of money.
Okay. And
just a couple little odds and jobs. And you know, being a union carpenter, we were very lucky to get him.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So here's the big one. So from 15 to now, there've been a lot of issues and events that have happened. From the kneeling soldier to Christmas tree lighting to the removing of the first aid as the first responder, the new hires, right? So we have the clerk in the construction office, backyard chickens, which was discussed at how professional contracts are awarded, development in the town, which is a big one, and the townwide reval. And just going through them, which ones do you find important? What are your thoughts on like, because these were major things.
I think they're all important.
Right, they're all important. So, like, for the first aid.
Well, I voted no.
Okay.
Like I said, when my mother and father both needed the first aid, they were there. They helped my mother and father out, and they helped a lot of residents out. I know they were having some issues with getting volunteers, but I just felt that that let's try it. Let's see this program. They were offering scholarship money to kids. I know my neighbor had just signed on. She was ready to go to school to get her certificate. A couple other kids had told me they were going to join, and and I know the fire department wanted to take them over.
Okay.
And I know there's a couple firemen that are EMS trained. They have the certificate. So I just felt it was time to let's try it one more time.
Okay.
And like that. The big time was getting people to sign, and I know the day shift was the big trouble.
Right.
And then also you had the night shift, and some nights they couldn't cover the shift. But they were trying a couple things new, And I just felt they give them a chance. And that day that we voted to get rid of them, seeing them young kids come up and crying their eyes out, taking a job to be a first aid squad thing. It was sad because me myself as a volunteer for all these years, it could have been the Little League, it could have been anything like that.
So were you reviewing it from that point, like, it could have been anybody?
It could have been anybody, and just what's next, the fire department or whatever, like, and it did bother me. But I understand that certain people how they felt because there was a rumor about lawsuits and different stuff like that. But I just felt that we needed to give them one last chance.
How long do you, so let's say there was a compromise reached and they said, okay, Councilman Petrosky, how long would you give them? How long would you have given them, do you think?
I would say 90 days.
Really?
90 days.
Wow, I thought you were going to say something like 6 months or a year.
Well, not between 90
Okay.
or thing, but I would, just to see if things were getting better.
Okay. Oh,
Okay. I mean, you could, if you've seen a progress, things are getting done, maybe you could stretch it to.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like, see where they are in 90 days.
Yeah, if nothing got done, if it was the same thing, then.
Then you would have said, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I would understand like that.
Okay.
But I think, from what I was told at that time, these kids were looking for scholarship money and this, and I know my neighbor next door, she was looking to get her certificate, she was going for training, she was working every Thursday night with them and everything, and she enjoyed it, and I know she was very upset when, it got shut
Right.
down.
So you would give them before the end of the year, because August,
Yeah.
September, like October.
Yeah, October, November, in
Oh.
that vicinity. And
I think
then
it's important because I don't think
just,
people.
if you see no improvement,
Then you would have.
look, you give them 90 days or you give them 180 days, it's going to be the same.
I see what you're saying, and it would have been, I guess, unnoticed, right? Because it would have been like from right now you have 90 days
Right.
to do something.
Right. Well, the main thing is get recruits,
Right.
get more people involved, whatever it came. Like I said, I think a lot of kids might have done with the scholarship money,
Right.
and that would have helped them. And a lot of people forget, a lot of your old timers, they did 300 calls a year are
Right.
gone. You don't have them anymore, and I think that really hurt the town, like that. And the other thing is now some of the recruits are getting paid, so they need money, so they left the volunteer to go to
Get paid.
a paid job, like that. But I just felt that I liked the idea with the scholarship, they told me they were getting a lot of kids interested in it, and I know I talked to a lady from Sunrise Village who was just about ready to get started with it. She was looking forward to it. She was going to go for her training. She found out that's what she wanted to do for the rest of her life,
Right.
and like that. And she was very upset knowing they got shut down. And again, she appreciates me voting against it.
So, do you understand what do you say to someone who says, these were lives that are at stake, and however well-meaning, and no one I've spoken to has said, these people were reckless or that they did their best,
Right.
that they actually tried their best,
Right.
but in weighing, the severity of someone's life
Right.
with this, they chose to end it. And I guess the reason that no one's really talked about is that, so the contract was up,
Right.
in August,
Right.
and no one has publicly stated, or no one has really hit home on that, but I think that was a major factor, right? Because it's like, if you didn't do it in August, you'd have to wait
Another year.
Right. So what do you say to someone who says, we were at the line and we needed to make a decision?
Well, my personal opinion
Yeah.
is with that, and I understand about the year, you would have to wait another year. Well, maybe it should have been done earlier.
Gotcha.
Instead of waiting until the last minute and then saying, okay, we're going to shut this down. Because I know there was a lot of issues, we would hear it on council about the shifts not being covered and different stuff like that. And one thing I found out, which I was glad I did find out, because I usually try to do research and find things out, because I know we would get reports and it'd be a missed call.
Okay.
Which I'm saying, how could it be a missed call? Someone's having a heart attack, you're gonna miss, not show up. But due to research, and I found out if they couldn't cover the shift for that night, they would call the county up and ask the county to cover 7 to 7, And if there was 2 calls that night, it would come out 2 missed calls. So that's what you would get. Here, what I thought was when I said missed calls, it was actually they missed calls
Right.
and they didn't go.
But they were already covered, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
well, the county covered them
Okay.
that night. If they knew they couldn't cover the shift, they would call the county and said, even though you're doing 7 to 7, can you do 7 to the 7 in the morning?
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, I was glad I clarified that, and I, again, doing research to find out that.
Okay. The kneeling soldier. So
Yes.
that was an issue, a big
Yeah,
issue.
big issue.
It really made people take sides, and it kind of got
Right.
ugly and hurtful. So what's your now
Well,
and then, right? So back then.
Well, back then, I supported the mayor.
Okay.
And I still would support him on it. To me, it was a kneeling soldier.
Okay.
Okay. And I understand, the councilwoman, she has her beliefs. We all have our beliefs. I took it as a kneeling soldier. You see them at all American Legions. I belong to the Roselle American Legion, and they had one, and they have one still, like that. So I took it as a soldier kneeling down to pay respects to his comrades,
Okay.
and that's the way I took it. You could take it another way, and I'm sure other people took it another way. And that's what, unfortunately, that's how things are done now, where people take their different sides to think. But again, my thought was, it was a kneeling soldier, a soldier paying respects to his comrade.
Okay. And then so now, because at the end, it was voted to have it removed because of the litigation that was going on.
Correct.
Do you think, how do you think it could have been handled differently? And I mean, so what had happened was the mayor had had placed it,
Right.
and he never asked council, right?
Right.
He asked council afterwards, and that's what that whole meeting was about, right?
Right.
Looking back, do you think it may have been done differently, or do you think it was done?
Well, I think he should have asked council
Okay.
first, and then.
Because you had to, it was kind of weird. It's like you came to a meeting and said, "We're going to approve it
Yeah.
that you donated, and then we're going to approve where it
Well,
was
there's a lot
when
of
it's there."
things, I don't understand certain. There's
Right.
a lot of things where we, for instance, the police officer,
Okay.
he gets hired, and we didn't take the vote yet.
Okay.
And I see, the family there and all these things. Now
That'd
this
be
person-
pretty bad, right?
What happens if we vote them no?
Or if you're the one who says no,
Right.
like then you've got an entire police force going,
Right.
"Why did Councilman Petrosky say
Right,
no?"
right.
That's a good point. That's pressure on you, right?
I've been saying that since I've been on council.
That's pressure on
Like,
you.
Why? Because the him or her,
Right, right,
who
right.
may be. I don't want to be
Right, right.
considered that, but the family's all there.
You're right.
And then if it
Who's going to
comes-
say no to that? Who's going to say
Right, right.
no?
Right.
Wow, that's an interesting point because you're right. That actually is pressure. That's
Right.
it's
Or
like
I
you're the
feel
bad
like
guy.
We should take the vote to meeting before.
Okay.
And then once it's approved, then bring them in the next one and then vote on it.
Okay.
Unless emergency, I can understand.
Understood,
that
right.
Once in a while.
That's a good point.
But
Wow.
yeah, that always I always say to myself, what happens if you vote no?
You're not going to be Mr. Popular at the police
I
station
know.
for whatever reason,
Well,
right?
but I
But
think
for whatever
as
reason,
long
you
as-
say no, right? You say for whatever reason, you're
Right.
like, I don't think this is. I think maybe we should get someone else, or
Right.
you're the bad guy who voted no to
Exactly,
a police
right,
officer.
Exactly. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's the whole council
Wow.
voted no.
Yeah. For
And then
whatever-
here this guy brings his whole family and all that,
yeah.
and he, what-
Wow.
like that.
Yeah. That's important to.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that. And that's,
No, that was always the only thing. I mean, I'm all for like that. And policemen are my heroes, just like the firemen and first aid responders.
But you think protocol should be followed?
I think it should be a thing where we vote on the meeting before and then
Have a formal.
right,
Come in at the beginning of the meeting,
Like I
introduce
said,
them.
what happens? 3 of us don't like the guy, or 4, and we vote no.
Or one of you is absent, and for
Right.
whatever reason,
Right.
someone abstains or something. Then
Right.
that leads to wow.
Right.
That's so. Do you think that should have been with the kneeling soldier as well? Kind of asked before you.
Yeah, I believe that's. I think the mayor did make a mistake by
Okay.
just doing it on. I mean, I still think he done it as a kneeling soldier, paying respects to his comrade. But I still think he should have been asked through mayor and council.
That's really I had never. You know what? You're right. I sit there and I'm like, oh, this is a fun meeting, but you're actually passing. You're telling the town people we approve this person
Right.
to serve and protect us.
Right.
And I believe in that. And if
Right.
even if you're like on the fence for whatever reason, right? it's kind of hard to be the one who says, no, or,
Right.
a bunch of you, because you're right. Wow, that's
Well, I was just saying,
yeah.
how would the family? I mean, you might have a grandmother coming from Connecticut or
It's a
something.
proud day in this family's life,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and then he comes, and then all of a sudden he gets voted no, like that. And I always felt that, but
That's important. I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it should be done the meeting before, and then the next meeting bring them in and get some swear
Wow,
in.
that's never even thought of that, but you're right.
Right.
So the Christmas tree lighting. What do you think about? That was another. So, I think the Christmas tree lighting happened before the kneeling soldier.
Yes.
I think, right.
Talking to the councilwoman, she said she felt it was for the following year.
Right.
Okay. She didn't think it was for that year. Okay. I mean, me personally, when I first heard it, I thought it was for that year.
Right.
Like, why are you going to bring something up for a year in advance? But okay, I give her the thing, and I like I said to her, but I said as far as with the Christmas tree, I mean, I know that's what it's been a Christmas tree since I was little. My mother and father, the two people I respect more in my life than anyone else, always told me it was a Christmas tree until I believe it's a Christmas.
Right.
Again, if the Jewish people want to bring their
Right.
thing or I was talking to a guy when I was campaigning, and he asked me that question, and I told him, if your religion had something you want to bring it, I'll support it 100%.
And there is a menorah
Yes.
now every year, so it's like and there wasn't a big
Right.
hoopla about that, right? It was like everyone put it in and it was good.
I have no problem.
So you would have you weren't excluding. You were just
Right.
saying that's what it is.
Right.
Let's go ahead, and if you want to go ahead, you're not going to say no. You wouldn't be that. You wouldn't be there. It says no menorah or nothing else, right? You'd be like, yeah, let's celebrate everybody.
Right. I think everyone, any religion should have their,
So you didn't take it as Christmas tree only. You took it
Right.
as this is it's called the Christmas tree.
Right.
But if anybody else wants to come in, by all means.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's because you did vote. I think the
I
menorah
voted for it.
and the menorah was put up.
Yes,
and you
all
voted for that.
I had a couple Jewish people that came up to me and asked me. I said, "You got my full support."
Okay.
You know?
All right. And the hiring of new employees, construction
Yeah.
officer, borough clerk, these are key positions, and
Yes.
most people don't know about them, but they're the ones that.
Right.
And along with that, how contracts are awarded.
Right.
Right? Before it used to be,
The
like you
mayor's
said,
appointment.
right? It's like, oh, everybody will vote the same way, but like now, it looks like you're doing that for them. You're like, let's interview them.
Right.
How do you feel about those things? Like,
I thought it was a good idea because this way you get to know the professionals people, and you get to know what they're about. That you can ask questions or everything like that. I know at first they didn't do it that way. The mayor would make an appointment and we would vote on it that way. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
okay.
You know.
And then the backyard chickens. Was that wasn't in your ward? That was in
In the first
ward. But
Okay, I did go over and see the guy.
okay.
I thought it was nice. I liked the way he had everything set up. I thought something wasn't legal by how close it was like that. And when I went there, I did ask him about, is everyone happy with it, your neighbors?
Right.
And he told me yes. And then I found out the neighbor
Right.
who emailed me, even though I wasn't
Again,
a
not
council person,
right.
but he did email me and asked me, he was against it. And then when I talked to him, he mentioned about 3 or 4 neighbors who was afraid to say anything, but they were against it also. And what I said to him, well, if a person's not willing to speak their mind, there's nothing I could do about that.
Right.
I said, you're the only one, and you're going to be the bad guy, like that. But I said, you need to talk to your neighbors. If they don't like it, they need to speak, like that. But I do agree with the mayor on that. It wouldn't have, I mean, they wouldn't have
Like the way the law was written,
right.
he wouldn't have fulfilled those.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Do you think because the other option was that he could have gone before the land use board?
Yes.
I think in the first ward there was a woman who had a little. They're called. I forget what they're called. But they're little pigs,
Yeah.
and she went through the entire thing.
Yeah, she
and I was
did.
there, and I remember at the beginning of that meeting, almost everyone on that land use was against it. When she
Right.
explained it,
Right.
and she said she'd take care of it. They said, okay, in this instance, we know that you're going to take care of it. Do you think he should have pursued that a little more?
I
or-
think so.
Okay.
I think if it would have benefited him, I think better, if he did go through the land use board
Okay.
like that.
All right. And then the townwide revow.
Well, that came before I became.
Oh, that's right, because you came in 15.
Yeah.
And it was already voted for. and
Voted
stuff.
on.
Did you get
And
phone calls on
everything.
that already? When you came in, did you get phone calls on that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Well, again, some people are going to be happy. I mean, my taxes.
Your
went
taxes went up.
quite a bit.
Your taxes went up a lot.
Yeah. But I did a lot of work in my house.
Okay.
Okay. I did get permits still.
Put that
Okay,
before anyone asks
Right,
anything.
okay, so permits were issued and everything. Yeah, my taxes went up, and that's what I try to explain to people. I had friends that were, yelling and screaming and all that. And I said, look, eventually it's going to be all around. Roosevelt Park took the early route in this and everything. But I said, in the long run, it's going to benefit you when you go to sell because your house is going to be a value at a bigger price. I had a friend of mine that refused to let the people in. Okay, and then he got.
I bet they got a
zapped
nice,
with
they got a nice
Then
tax
he-
increase.
Then he called me up and crying the blues, and I said, I tried to tell you, and he laughed and everything. He said, can I do anything? And I called Gail up, and she was very helpful, and she went over and he got.
They did the.
They did do it. Even though I had a lady the other day ask me, she never had it done, so she's paying all these taxes, and she feels it's too high. So I told her what to do, called Gail up, and I called Gail up myself, talked to her, and she told me, she said, once I receive the phone call, I'll go over there, and, hopefully her taxes will go down.
So it looks like and it's not a bad thing. Some council people would say, call this person. You actually go out of your way and
Yes, I do.
call that person and say, hey, someone might be calling you, or hey, what could you do?
Right.
And you think do you think your residents appreciate that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
A lot of them have told me, they said, Joe, one thing about you is you're there. You're there for us. And actually, I got one lady that wasn't going to vote for me, but because I reached out and helped her, I got her vote, and I also have a sign, like that. So I said, you know what, it's worth it, just for one. But I do like that personal touch.
Right.
I try to meet with the people. Try to, sometimes you can't. People are. I know the one lady. I mean, she's telling me she's working all these hours. 7 days a week, and you got to have a little time to, You call me when you're available, I'll come over. And we still haven't met.
Okay. All right. And development. So that's a big thing, right?
Yes.
And although there's no development in your
In
ward,
my ward.
again, you'll vote, have voted.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on development and what's
Well-
going on and what you see coming up?
Okay, well, I'm for the development. I mean, I was hoping, like a lot of people misunderstand me, as far as like with apartments and all like that. I would have liked to have seen the like a strip mall
Okay.
at Sullivan property. I mean, I was a big advocate. I did mention to them about Cracker Barrel,
Okay.
which
My
a lot of
wife and I
people
would
might
have
not know.
been happy with you because we said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there's only one or two in the state.
In the area, yeah.
Pennsylvania's big. My parents were both from Pennsylvania, so I go up there quite often. And I usually stop at a Cracker Barrel. When I was down to Florida, riding through North Carolina, there's Cracker Barrels all over. We stopped there too. So I thought it'd be a good place
Okay.
like that. The original, when it first got open, Sullivan, when they were going to put the 4 buildings down,
Right.
I did vote. I was on the land use board. I did vote yes.
Okay.
I was one of 2 people.
Oh, that's right, for the auto zone and the bank and the
AutoZone,
unnamed.
right.
Oh, that's right, you were.
Yeah, I voted in the favor, and me and one other member, and everyone else voted no, so it got shot down. But I think we need Roosevelt Park's hot. People, you hear it all over. People want a development, and I'm all for it. The Hunter property would be good too. And I do agree in the debate when it came out about the train station. If we can get some stores up there, Roosevelt Park will look great.
Okay.
Like that.
So are you? It seems like you're if it were your choice, you kind of look, because you said more stores, right, and more
Yes.
more things for people to go shop.
Yeah, well, I think, like, I love Costas, but you can't eat at Costas 7 days a week. You can't,
Right.
like that. I mean, I grew up in this town. I mean, back when I was a kid, you did have Costas. You had Oasis, which was a nice restaurant. You had the diner.
Right.
You had Sun Tavern, like that. We could use a couple more.
Okay.
I know I was talking to a lady the other day when I was walking to work. She wanted that vacant store across from Dowling's. I think it's
Yes,
an antique
on the
store.
corner. Yes.
She wanted to open that up, and what she wanted to do was to have it for kids 14 to 20. No liquor, of course,
Right.
like that. And then have games for them to play, food, and have
Oh,
them
wow.
someplace to
Someplace
hang out.
for young kids to go.
To hang
Actually,
out.
I was actually a question in the debate.
Yes.
Where you have places. So you're. It looks like you're in trying to get or listening to people.
I do listen to people. She was she wanted to, she had at the time, she had like 40-some thousand, and she had people that were going to give her more thing to get things started, and she was really, and unfortunately she got shot down.
Okay.
So I told her not to give up. I said, bring it to the land use board with everything, and maybe we could do something.
Okay.
Like I said, I think it'd be great for the town, and it'd be good for the kids. I know growing up in this town, it was great. We had rec night every Wednesday at the high school. During the summer, the playgrounds were open
Right.
all day. I think once a month, they used to have rec night at one school. They hire a band, kids would hang out.
So what do you think that? Why do you think that's changed?
Well, first of all, the recreation budget got cut tremendously.
Wow. All at once or just over the years?
Over the years,
Okay.
but it's really went down from.
And you're an advocate. I mean, even though like you're not supposed to be. I mean, you generally like fight for it. During the thing with the basketball,
Yes.
you were the most informed person on council. Like you were
Right.
explaining to people, this is why we need to do it.
Right.
So it's been cut over the years.
Over here. Like I said, you had Sherman School, you had Acker Park, you had the middle school, you had Aldine, you had Hawthorne, and the high school. These were all playgrounds that were open. They would hire 2 kids, high school, college kids, and they would open up maybe 8 o'clock until 4:30. And you had tetherball, you had knock hockey. There was a softball league. You played different playgrounds
Okay.
and all like that. They had trips to all over, down the shore, different stuff. And, there was so much for kids to do. It's a shame that you really don't have it anymore.
Right.
Like that. Again, you're talking, if we wanted to bring something like that back, of course, your taxes would go up.
Right.
And, people aren't going to.
But do you think it's, if it were up to, like if you were Joe Petrosky and
Yeah.
you can have one thing,
Right.
do you think you'd say, you know what, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth maybe paying a couple
I
of
would
dollars
think
more.
it's so much for the kids to do.
Because you see it, right?
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
if you go right through this town during the summer,
yeah,
no one's on the
nothing,
playgrounds.
yeah.
Like I said, are they doing other things? I know some kids I know, all they do is sit home and play video and all that.
Yeah.
This way it gives them something to do.
And you see, because like I've seen when people have come up and received awards, people in their 20s
Yeah.
who said, they call you Coach Petrosky because that's
Yeah.
how they know you, and they know
Right.
you've built them up, and I guess you see that how important
Yeah.
that is.
Yes.
And so you would tell people if you said, if there's a way for me to get rec back to the way it was.
Well, what I like to do is, possibly see if there's grant money out there
Okay.
that we could do something like that. I just feel that it's so much for. I mean, of course, you couldn't have it the way we had it when I was a kid. All the schools like that, but you can have maybe a few, maybe and you just.
And do you think maybe when you had said maybe better communication with the Board of Ed, maybe
Yes.
do you think that would be a good thing to work at, to say, Board of Ed, hey, how about you do this and we do this and
I
get
think
rec
so.
back, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Because you said at the beginning, and I guess this is a good reason for it, right?
Right.
It's like okay.
Yes.
So property taxes, and so the budgets, right?
Yeah.
And you've been on
4 budgets.
on 4 budgets, and some have gone up, some have stayed,
Right.
and some have stayed down. What do you think about how the budgets have been reached, and when someone tells you, hey, councilman, my taxes are going up, would you tell them, I hear you, or would you say, we're trying the best we can?
Well, what I tell them is, again, I said we're doing the best we can, but there's like what, maybe 3-4 people at these budget hearings,
Yeah.
which is important.
95% of every single dollar
Right.
that the town spends is decided in this room that
Right.
we're talking right now,
Exactly.
right? And that's people they think, oh, where's this money? It's like, hey, we talked about it for about 3 meetings. So you were saying that it's not, they're not attended.
Right. That's what I told people. Where are you? You come here. You can voice your. People said, I won't give. Yes, you do. Your voice does mean something.
I've seen that. I've seen where people come in
Right.
and they ask for something.
Right.
And
But you might not get your way, but if you get a couple people, bring it together. Talk. We can go. Like I said, I'm very happy that we one thing about we come together, all council and the mayor, and our CFO and everything. They all and the clerk all do a great job to help it. I know campaigning 3 years ago. I didn't realize the guy was a teacher. So he went up to me, he says, Councilman, you lower my taxes, you got my vote. And I said, well, I'm not going to tell you. First of all, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a liar, and I'm not going to tell you. I said to him, the best I could tell you, I'll do all I can to stabilize your taxes.
Okay.
I got talking. As soon as I mentioned about the school board, he hit the ceiling on me. Started yelling at me, went through this all. Then I realized he was a teacher, like that. So, but I said to him, I'm not complaining. The state cut funds, mandated programs that the school has to have.
Right.
They, who pays for it? The taxpayers. So I said, I do understand, but like I said, I think we kept it as low as we can with municipal,
Right.
like that. But again, most of it is just, and you know what? You got to educate the kids and everything like that.
So it looks like you're telling them the fact, but you're not, because some people say, council likes to throw the Board of Ed under the bus. But it looks like by what you said, it's like, it's important.
No, I don't throw the.
And you're saying the truth is, the
Right.
state said, we're going to give you this much money, and every year the state goes, we were just kidding.
We're taking the money back. Then there's state mandated programs that you have to have.
And you feel education is absolutely important.
Oh, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. Like I said, going through the school system, I was very lucky. I had great teachers. Some of them I kept in touch with after I got out of high school. I still see one of my teachers. Actually, she compliments me on my speaking ability. She was my speech teacher.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Cynthia.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see her at church all the time. And when she had a problem a couple of years ago, she would always call and she would say, "This is your speech teacher," like that. But she says to me, "Oh yeah, big difference when I had that, like that." Because I was nervous and like
Right.
that. But like I said, I feel good. I am open up. Especially when I vote on things, like I tell people, I vote from my heart. If my heart tells me it's good, and a friend of mine's father told me that years ago, Kenny Sapel.
Okay.
He was a board member for over 25 years. And when I ran for the board back in the 1990s.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes, I did. I ran for the board. And I was a big, main reason I ran, because when they had the 8th graders at the high school.
Right.
And I didn't like that.
Okay.
My daughter was going to be an 8th grader in a couple of years. And I was against it and everything like that. And again, I was happy I didn't get elected, but a couple of years later, they moved the 8th graders out of the
Right. Yeah.
like that. But like I said, when I ran, he came up to me. He said, "Joe, if you talk from your heart and you vote from your heart, no one could say a word about it." And I said, that's what. And I learned that, and that's what I tried to establish, being a councilman now.
Okay. And then we have audits, right? So these are third party
Right.
people who come in and
Right.
go, "Hey, Borough, you're
Right.
doing good," or maybe need to look at
Right.
this. What are your feelings about the audits that we get every year? Sometimes, because I know a couple of years ago there was an issue with, and just to be honest, the rec department it gave some issues and it gave corrective actions,
Right.
and it looks like the rec department followed it.
Right.
So do you think those audits are good, or do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it helps the borough. You can find problems that you have, with them, like you said about the rec.
And again, it was nothing. It was
No.
nothing wrong or evil.
No, they didn't do nothing illegal,
right,
but
nothing.
it just happened, and it happens. You know, I know being the liaison to the rec, and I think Tina Schwartz is doing a great job, like that, and she has that whole rec committee behind her, which I think is great, and everything. And she always compliments me. But I said, Tina, you're the one that pulls this together. But like I said, you could find mistakes, and we found it.
So you're open to that kind of criticism, for lack of a better word.
Because I know she asked me questions, and I always refer to Ken or Andrew to make sure that I'm telling her the right thing.
Right.
I don't want to tell her something that's not true. You know.
Okay. So you find those audits, even though
Yes.
they're important. And people again say, which is good. I'm never going to lower your taxes.
Right.
Or if it happens, it happens. But that's not something I'm looking to stabilize them.
Right.
Do you see anything coming up that you may want to tell people, hey, this is, or do you think every budget meeting you come to, you'll be like, I want to stabilize these taxes for people, because you're a taxpayer too, right?
Sure. I get affected by it too. So if I raise your taxes, my taxes are going to get raised too. So, the main thing is try to stabilize tax. No wasteful spending. Unfortunately, you do need things in town. What I try to tell people also is you have to understand your police, your town workers, your DPW, your school teacher. They're all getting raises every year.
Right.
So it's got to come from someplace and everything like that. And then, but if we could stabilize it, that'll definitely help a lot.
Is there anything you think that you might be looking in the future to maybe stabilize them?
Well, I think with all these properties getting developed, I think it'll help stabilize the taxes.
Okay.
Because there'll be more revenue coming into the town, which will help stabilize the taxes. Like I was glad to hear about the Hawthorne lab. That's gonna that's been over a year. I think it's been that I thought it was all done and nothing's been done.
Because you were the liaison, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Right. So I think seeing all that, I think it'll definitely help the town.
Okay.
Stabilize the taxes.
And what do you think about pilot? Because that's another big issue that's kind of coming up now.
It's a tough one because I do understand you want to bring these contractors in to develop, and
because that's what they want, right?
They're looking
pilot.
for tax breaks.
We want the pilot, yeah.
Right. And again, the money goes to the town, and then 5% goes to the county, and the school don't get nothing.
Right.
Which I guess it's up to the town. We'll have to sit down to give them.
And are you open to that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Because I think we need to work together as as we're all here for the same reason.
Okay.
There's school. With the school, we're here for the town, but my view on the youth.
The youth, right? Yeah.
I've spent my whole life as
So you keep an eye on that all the time.
Yes.
You're like there's kids here or there's families here.
Right. And I want the best for everybody.
Okay.
I love to see. Of course, we love to see all these new things or better equipment or like that. But I think a lot of it, if we could cut back the wasteful spending, and help out, share services is another thing we can go. I know I was talking to one of the big shots in the county, and I had said, I'd like to try, because when I first got on, he helped me out a lot with some things. I know they did the backhoe, redid mechanic work for the backhoe,
Okay.
and I believe one of the other DPW equipment they redid, where we paid for the part and they did the service.
I remember you brought that up as because there was a sale of something, and you were like, we really should give it to because they do, and you did bring that out. You're like, they do things for us,
Right,
and
Big Brother.
Right.
And I hate that it's the mayor's turn, but I do believe that, and they were upset about that. They were very upset because for the issue was it's no use to us.
What you're going to get back from doing that is
If
going to
we
be
give it to them, they're happy.
Right.
They got the thing, and then when we go to ask them a favor, like that, like I said, I know the firemen, when I was a fire commissioner, they wanted the boxes in front of the fire department on Chestnut Street. You know, that people don't park there.
Right, yeah.
Then when they back out this way like that. And I know they were looking to, well, at first it was approached to get permission to do it.
Okay.
I went a step further, and I talked to the one guy from the engineering to see if the county could do it for us and not cost us anything. I actually got one better, and than that, I got the contractor. He was doing he was doing work over in Roselle on Chestnut Street, and he told me when he was done, he would come over and put them boxes, and he did.
So you look for that, like, because everybody said we're gonna get money, we're gonna get better money, but you're like, you know what, that money you get, at the end of the day, we're gonna get 10 or 20 fold, because the people are gonna be, hey, you guys looked out for us, we'll look out for you.
Right.
And is that kind of what you look for? Is even
Yes.
though you say it may not, someone goes, I want that, whatever it ended up being, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, there's things you try to help. If they could do it, like I said, being a county employee, I know the people that work in the place. The one guy I get along very well with, and I guess he makes the final decision. And he's cut trees down for me, and everything like that. I know the one guy waited 9 years, I think it was, on Fate 2 in Colfax. And if you looked at the sidewalk, it was horrendous.
Okay.
And you could actually see the sewer pipe on the sidewalk. And he kept going to the county, and I know the guy, but he never said anything to me. So finally someone told him, why don't you contact Joe? So he called me, I made a couple of calls, and I was, like, within a week or two, they did the sidewalk. I actually did more than I thought they would do. And then they fixed and they cut the tree down. And like I said, this guy is the happiest camper around, like that. Because like I said he couldn't wait any longer. He was gonna, if he had to do it himself. And I said,
Right.
well, you can't, because that's the county road.
Yeah.
You have to get their permission. And like I said, you got new sidewalks, new apron, and his tree got cut down.
Okay. So and I've asked this to the other candidates. So we live in a small town, and
Right.
we know that there's a lot of employees who work for the borough who are residents, right?
Right,
So some of them get scared because when they hear shared services, they hear, well, that's my job.
right.
What do you say to someone who's like that? Who's like, Joe, I like it and all, but if you say shared services one more time,
Yeah, right.
because they're scared, right? Because they're fearing that. What do you say to them about stuff like that? Like, what do you mean by shared services? Do you mean?
Well, what I tell them is simple. It's to help. Your job is not in jeopardy.
Okay.
That's number one. It's to help with both towns, if it's a town or it's a county, or with everything. It's to help both towns out.
Like a tree. So if we
Right.
shared services with a
Right.
tree specialist from another town,
Right.
and is that what you're talking about more?
Well, again, that's one of the things, like, because you want to help each other out, and like I said, or if you're going to buy, because a lot of supply houses, if you buy in quantity, you save money.
Okay.
So you could go say with Kenwood, look, we'll salt for the winter. How about we go together and maybe we'll save a couple dollars.
Okay.
Stuff like that. That's what. But I tell people, your job is not in jeopardy. It's just that we're trying to help the budget a little bit. If we share services, we could save a couple dollars on so, because what we need, the other town needs also.
Right. Okay.
So.
So we were talking about development, and there were the Meridia projects from Rosky maybe coming
Right.
back, Mimi's, and we talked about Hawthorne. So what do you think about all this? Because we know, so Mimi's is done;
Right.
it's been approved, right?
Right.
Hawthorne's been approved.
Right.
The first Meridia's been approved. Hunter is in the works.
Right.
The second Meridia. So what do you think about all this development and the way that it's going with housing? Because the major ones have all had housing. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on that kind of?
Well, again, like I said before, I would like to see some stores, restaurants, like that. Again, I love Costas, but I can't eat Costas 7 days a week.
I'm sure people like Costas don't eat Costas 7 days a week. I'm sure they go other places too, right?
So, but I like to do my business local.
Right.
I live in this.
And you
town.
do that.
Yeah, I do.
I've heard
right
that.
off that.
You know, you go to the dry cleaners and you
always
go to the
done.
hardware store.
Right.
Yeah.
I do everything.
Okay.
Like I said, I used to go to the barber, and she closed up on Westfield
Okay.
Avenue. You know, it's what I keep the money in my town, like that. Like even like I just had my reunion, my class reunion. Everyone turned 60 this past year, and I know a couple of people said to me, "Why are you still in Roseville Park?" Because I love this town, and I do. I'm not saying I want to stay. I probably
What do you love about it? Like what?
just the people. People are, you know, there's some good and bad in people.
Right.
You know, just like I said, my former players, the respect I get, their parents that still live here. People treat me good, and I treat them good. And like I said, I have friends I feel are good friends.
You said even your teacher, right?
Yeah, I see her all the time. She always compliments me.
So it's like the community.
Yeah.
Because when you go to church and
Right.
you're part of other groups,
Right.
is that's really important too? That kind
Yes,
Of, okay.
I go to church every week, and everything. And I actually got my girlfriend to be a church-going person who she hadn't gotten. She's Catholic. Made her her sacraments at the Church of Assumption, and then left, and then didn't go to church. But now she goes every week with me.
So that community is very important.
Yeah, it very is. I enjoyed this town. You have good people, and of course you have some bad
Right,
people.
right.
I enjoy the people, you know, even campaigning. Like, I've seen people I haven't seen in a while. Today I ran into ran into a kid I coached, and everything like that. And he was so happy to see me and everything like that. So it does make you feel good, you know, like that.
Right, so then we talked. So it looks like you'd be more happy with commercial development.
Yeah, a little more. I mean, I know it's probably more money for the developers if you go with apartments. So I do want to, but I think we're pretty much getting to the point where it's enough is the thing,
Okay.
and I think we need to put some restaurants in, because even if you know with the Millennium going boat thing, again, how many places you're going to go, and you know, like I said, most of them are going to be coming from New York, and they don't want to travel to 22 or anything like that. They like to.
That's why they moved here because they like you said, the community feel,
Right.
right? They like, this is my home now.
Right.
Right.
I know my stepson, when he got out of school, he moved to Jersey City, and he loves it. And I said to him, "Well, you're crazy," you know, like that. But he loves it. And like he said, he comes from the city, and everything's local, you know,
Yeah.
like that. But he said, "I'll never move out of Jersey City." So that's all better you than me.
Okay, so and as counsel, do you think when and again, not to
Right.
because there's things you can't talk about, but do you think going forward that you'll always keep that in the back of your mind? It's like, hey, let's try to get more commercial. Let's try to get more.
Yeah, I think you know, like I said, with all these apartment and then everything, I think we need to put some stores
Okay.
in there,
All right.
just to help.
That's refreshing because I don't think people really know that. They think they just hear the buildings and the vote, but
Right.
it's interesting.
Well, I know this Sullivan property was a big thing, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. Registered Republicans who came up to me and said they're voting for me because they know I would vote for. They couldn't stand that
It just
Sullivan
sat
property
there.
being vacant as long as it did.
And do you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and they want it developed, you know. And I was surprised at some of the people that called me and asked me if I was in support of it. Yeah, and people I wouldn't think that I thought didn't care basically, but they did, and they asked me to. Hopefully, you're supporting them.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And do you listen? So, like, let's say you believed in something or you held something, and the majority of your ward says, you know what, we want this. Do you? Because you said you follow your heart.
Right.
How do you? What if that ever happens, where you believe
I
wholeheartedly
do
in
believe
one thing?
I listen to my heart. I also listen to my constituents. And a perfect example, and basically what I tell people is this: I don't follow party line. I don't, and as much as anyone wants to say that my brother tells me what to do, he doesn't. I think he.
So why do you feel? So let's talk. I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up. So your brother's Dan Petrosky,
Yes.
and there's a lot been said that, and we'll be honest,
But
that when you went in, that you were going to be his puppet.
I'm no one's puppet.
And how do you feel when people say that, or
It
think that?
bothers me.
Okay,
It bothers me because I'm not a puppet. I vote from my heart, and I vote what I want to do. And to be honest with you, he's asked me one thing in the 4 years I've been on.
okay,
Okay, usually he stays out of it. He don't ask, thing. He asked me one thing in 4 years. But what I was saying before was when we were going to give the town administrator
okay.
to Doreen.
Doreen, yes.
Okay, and I listened to one of the council people on there, and they asked me to support it, and I listened to them like that. But a part of me felt we did need a administrator,
Okay,
because I know there's things going on in the town that I thought shouldn't be happening, and of course the mayor's position is a part timer, and there really is no one oversee like what like for instance, if someone wanted to leave at 2:00, who's going to stop it? No
Okay.
one's here like that.
right.
And,
The day to day, the
day
day
to
to
day,
day.
like I said, once in a while, emergency. I don't have a problem with that. Just like with the county, I'm all over the county. I'll ride through Roseville Park, and and I see things that maybe I shouldn't see. But but to go back to the story with, I was asked to vote for her.
Okay,
And I thought about it. It's okay. Yeah, I believe we need it. What a lot of people didn't understand because they thought she was getting this big raise, but she had said that she would put more hours in. Now, if she did or didn't, well, then that was up to us to give her. So now you have to work to 6
Okay.
at night or 7, whatever it may be, and like that. So that's why I actually voted in her behalf. Well, that night when I got home and the next day, I got 92 emails. Okay? And what I did was I returned every one of them.
wow.
All 92. Actually, one came from the 3rd Ward, one of the residents. And he was a little nasty at first. I called him up on phone personally and talked to him. And by the time, he apologized for the way he acted. And he had he said the utmost respect for me because of being honest and then the one-on-one conversation. And basically I said I made a mistake, okay? Now that you as my constituents are telling me that you didn't need one, I support. Well, they were going to bring it up again,
Right.
because the one councilman misunderstood it and voted the other way. Otherwise, it would have went through. So what I said to them was, if you bring it through, I'm voting no. So you're back to the
Wow.
old thing, like that. Because I listen to people. Like I said,
And that's important because people don't. Again, that's an important decision you had to make.
Right.
You felt one way.
Right.
You're your constituents, and you even said, if it goes through again, it's gonna be the same.
I'm going to vote. And two former councilmen are in my ward. They were one of the 92 that I spoke to. So they like I said, and I mean, when I came in, I really didn't care too much for Doreen because I had a little league issue with her, thing, and I actually did like her, got to like her a little bit, and I told her right out, I'm sorry, I can't support it.
And it wasn't personal.
No, it had nothing to do
It
with
was
personal.
because you liked her with that point.
Yeah, and I told her, I said,
Right.
look, my constituents told me no, and I'm sorry, I'm going to vote no.
Oh, okay.
So, and she was okay with it. There was no hard feelings. I mean, I 2 days later, I called her for a favor, and she did me a favor. So I was glad that there was no hard feeling. But I said, I got to listen to my constituents.
That's pretty important because, right.
Well,
it's
they're
good to
the
correct.
ones that vote for me.
Right. True.
So,
All right. So even though there's not many businesses in your town, like
Right.
again, there's things that you vote on, attracting businesses, and there have been some ordinances, the grease traps,
Right.
The nail salons.
Right.
And again, it's not nail salons are forbidden. It's just like they're not automatically granted within. They need to go to the
Right.
land use board.
Right.
And some people say that's government overreaching, doing stuff. And some people are saying that we need that. What's your position on that kind of thing? Where again, they're outside your, nail salons are not even in your ward, but your vote matters for everybody.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on those kind of laws, those ordinances,
Well,
while saying we're going to bring business in?
Well, the grease traps, okay, I originally I was against.
Okay.
Okay, when they first came out, one thing was, again, I'm friendly with Nicola from Costas, so he approached me and that. And as a member of the Little League, we have a grease trap up there.
Oh, that's right, because you have the concession stand.
Stands.
That's right. Okay.
So when it originally came out that you had to move it outside, you're talking a lot of money. Second, but where are we going to put it? That was the next issue.
Okay.
So again, members of the Little League came to me and asked me like, "What show like that?" So I was against it at first. So I was glad it got basically grandfathered in, and it would be new businesses that come in and like that. But I understood the reason why, because they basically knew where the grease was coming from, and they were trying to eliminate it. But again, you're talking about how much money that would cost the business, and I know the Little League, it's not like we have a lot of money, so you're talking to move it, and like I said, I mean, we're lucky we have a plumber that is involved, so he probably would have did the work, but the cost factor, it's still to get parts and everything like that.
Okay. And then like the nail salon, that's another aspect.
Well, I think we have enough nail
nail
salons, okay, to go. But I think like some of the stores are small, so what are you gonna get in there?
The available stores you're saying.
Stores
Okay.
available.
Okay.
But I do believe that we have enough nail salons and everything like that. But it seems like they're all doing business because they're still in business. So something's got to be doing right. I think that's a hard call to make, and I think every situation would have to be thought about before I would take a vote. But I know, like I said, we have all these things, and they're all still in business.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's
And you talked about that. That's a hard road for you. If you could think back, what do you think the hardest decision was that you had to make while on council? That you said either you were for it or against it, but you knew that anyway you voted, people would be unhappy. Because you do, like we talked about a bunch of them, right? So
Yeah.
like development, you're gonna get people who are happy, people who are sad. But for you, like what perhaps do you think was a hard thing for you to vote on?
Probably, I would say, after the original Sullivan's thing got shut down.
Okay.
Okay, and then when we talked about the Meridian that's being worked on right now, I think I was a little cautious, because being voted down the first time and everything, and I would say that probably was the hardest decision, because I wasn't sure if it would go through again, knowing that the first one got shut down.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for the discussion. It's been very great. And in closing, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, again, I do love this town. I've been here for 56 years. I went through the school system. I devoted myself to the Little League, and I'm to let everyone know I'm not going anyplace. I'm coming back next year. I just got re-elected third vice president of the Little League. We do have a new president, Dan O'Connell, who I coached, so that makes me feel good like that. But again, I love this town. I think I'm doing a good job. Maybe some people might say I'm not. I know a lot of people have said to me, one thing about you, Joe, you get back to us. And I think that's key. Again, I like the personal touch, one-on-one. I'll try to stop over the house just to see it. Like I said, when I said about the lady's sewer backing up, and I stayed on, and when seeing her, and she was so happy that it stopped. It made, like that. and she thanked me, and like that. So that's what you want. And then I know one lady on Hamilton, and the Colfax property got thing, and the contractor did a terrible job, I got nothing but complaints on that, and they went back to her house 4 times, and she would call me and she'd say, "I know I'm a pain in the neck," but she wasn't. I said, "You have good. It's your house. This guy should come back." Make phone calls to the engineer. I'm glad I have a good relationship with Tom, and he tried to help me out the best he can, and he agreed with me. The guy did a terrible job. That the town would never let him do anything. And then it came out to the point where he, like I said, went back 4 times and still didn't do the job right. So she ended up hiring her own contractor, and thing. So I guess whatever he had done, he was done, and he still had, I believe, $4,000 coming to him. So my deal was to Tom and her is let him pay the $1,800, and then the town will give him the $4,000,
Right.
like that. And he at first he said no. I couldn't believe it. So I said, well, if you do the math, you're not going to get that $4,000 because
Right. It'll just
thing. So pay her the 18, and then you'll get 4, and you'll be ahead. Thing. So I guess once it sunk in, he said, "Oh yeah, you're right," and he got it. So she was happy, and then finally he sent her a check, and we made sure the check went through and
Right.
everything and like that. But she really appreciated it. I didn't give up. I stayed there, stayed on her, kept calling her, returning calls, stopped over there a couple times just to see the work and everything. And I know her neighbor, he's happy with me because there's a sewer pipe right by the bike path to get onto the bike path on the corner.
Yes,
of
I know
Walnut-
exactly. Yes.
Walnut and Colfax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, someone blacktopped the sewer pipe. So no water was going in, the water would just lay there. So he came to me, complained, and we reached out to the DPW. They finally got it done. They dug it up, put new sewer thing, and like he said, the water flows beautiful. And he's very happy and everything like that. But to try to find out who the heck put the blacktop there is why would someone do that? Because like I said, it's pitched to go into the sewer. So that water would just lay there. So especially during the winter with the ice.
With the ice. Yeah.
It's
That's
very
even.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. So again, I do follow through.
Okay.
I think he always he always thanks me to this day, like that. But again, I'll repeat myself. I do like the personal touch. I do like going there, talking to people, and everything. And then like I said, if I do get reelected, I will. I think I'm going to do a little more flyers out to the residents. I think I wasn't really big on it my first 4 years, but I think I will do that the next